Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field. And so, kind of thinking about that, I kind of take the word harvest in this sense as a mission, right? So, our harvest to reap is to bring people to come into a relationship with Jesus. But sometimes in our day-to-day lives, our harvest or our mission isn't as clear as some would like it to be. We go from our jobs to our homes, and we often forget about others who are struggling. But over the past couple of weeks, I've had some experiences that have kind of shed some more light on what my harvest is, or my mission. You see, I went to the Synod Assembly approximately 2.5 weeks ago, with Tanny back there and a few other people from our congregation as a delegation to represent us. And not only to do that, but to vote and to listen to speakers. And that was a very good experience for me. One of the speakers, his name was Dr. Anthony Bethesda, and he's a professor at St. Olaf College. But his faith walk was not as, I guess, clear as it is for some of us. You see, a lot of us are what we call cradle Lutherans, right? Either our parents were born into this, or we just found our way into here as infants. You know, there's always a story of us coming to this church. But for many in our congregation and other places, they're not cradle Lutherans. And I think that sometimes there is sort of a division between those two groups of people that makes it hard for everyone to share in the same message. But I think that, as evidenced by his story, he grew up in a Baptist church, and he stated that it was more of something that he could just do and something he could go to, and he was there for the cookies and the Sunday school and, you know, the fun times, you know, but he wasn't really called to come into a relationship with Jesus Christ in that moment. And actually, Dr. Bethesda, out of an act of rebellion in his teenage years, he began to follow the religion of Islam rather than Christianity. So his faith life took a much different path. But eventually, he went to college, and not being very clear on what he wanted to do with his life, he was kind of malleable in his beliefs and his thoughts. So his roommate at the time just asked one simple question: will you come to church with me? And that one question began an entire life of practicing the faith that we all practice today. All he had to do was ask that question, and little did he know that later in life, that same person that he asked would become a professor who taught history about the Reformation, and specifically Martin Luther and his life in general. So it really is just a question away as to trying to get people to come to church. But another experience that I've had over the past couple of weeks that has reminded me of this is the San Diego mission trip that we had with our youth. Some of you guys may know this, but it was an upperclassmen trip that we took 2 weeks ago, and went to San Diego. And, you know, oftentimes they can tell you horrible things about a city or a place, but you never really see them or believe them until you come to that place. So we went to San Diego, and the harvest was very clear there, or the mission, right? Because as we were driving down streets, there was just tents and just tent cities along the side of the road where people had just set up camp. And it seemed so hopeless to me at first seeing it, because there was dog holes laying out and people just sitting there and not really knowing what they wanted to do with their life and being really lost, the lost sheep of Israel. But that's where we were called to serve, right? Because that is our harvest, that's our mission. So our youth group and me went into that place, and we served among the people. And there it was such a mountaintop experience, and the mission was so clear because we could see that, we're serving this food to this group of people, and we could immediately see the impact that we were making. But in our day-to-day lives, sometimes it's harder to see that impact immediately. Because, as evidenced by Dr. Bethesda and as I've been saying, a faith life can't just be cultivated in an instant. It takes years of work, and it takes you coming across your deepest regrets, your deepest doubts, and you conquering them. So it is simple to ask a question to get someone to come to church, but I think that we are framing that question a lot differently than we should. You see, a lot of times we get caught up in this idea that church is this place, right? We're in church. This building is church. But in reality, we are the church. If this building was just standing here and nobody was in it, there'd be no point. It wouldn't be a church. But since we're worshiping here and since we're using this space for God's work, it has become a church. So if you're ever thinking about inviting someone, I would ask you to, instead of asking the question of, would you like to come to church with me, maybe ask them, would you like to become a part of the church with me? Because that shows a much deeper rooted understanding of what it is to be a part of the church and be a part of this community. So another speaker that talked at the Synod Assembly, some of you guys may have known him, it's Bishop Brian Moss, and I know he's a very talented speaker. But one of the things that he talked about was this idea of a roller coaster moment of awe. And so in the Bible it talks about us fearing the Lord, right? We should fear the Lord our God. But his take on it was it's not so much fear as it is awe. It's that idea of, okay, at any instant I could be dead. There's a lot of dangers in this planet, but I trust that my God will get me through it because I have faith in him. So it's this moment of awe that as we sometimes approach in our lives, and a really good example that, or I guess analogy that he had was a roller coaster. If any of you guys have been on a roller coaster, you may have the greatest idea with your friends, yeah, let's go on this, it'll be fun, everyone's doing it, it's such a great idea. But you're never really as terrified as you are when you're looking down at the very top, right? When you're seeing, it seems like you can see the whole world below you. And in that moment, you would like to just go back down nice and slowly and just return to your normal life. But no, you're up there. There's no way down but forward, right? You have to go this way. You can't go back. And so as we approach these moments of awe in our lives where God's showing us these opportunities, it can be really scary. And I know it's scary for me to come up here and talk in front of you guys because I know how many of you guys are going to ask me if I want to be a preacher after this. And that can be that's kind of a scary thought to me because I am very young, and I'm not quite certain as to what I want to do with my life yet. But when I'm approached with moments like that, instead of being worried or frightened or scared, I should be joyful because I know that I'm on the path that my Lord wants me to go. And I invite you to apply this in your day-to-day lives. Now, there can be roller coaster experiences where you're looking down, but there's also experiences that you come across all the time that are just as frightening, right? My dad's over there, but I was working with him yesterday. The storm that came through that I'm sure all you guys know about blew my fence down on our east side of our property. And me and my dad spent the last day building a temporary fence so that we could keep our dogs in and they wouldn't run away. And as we were doing this, I was telling my dad, hey Dad, a couple of my friends said that they wanted to come help us. He was like, nah, we don't need their help, Jacob, just you and me, we got this, pal, right? But later in that day, once we had started working, he said to me, you know what, Jacob? You know what us Carter men are really bad at? Asking for help. And so I was like, well, I would agree with you, but we could have gotten help easily, right? And so I would say, asking for help, that's another kind of frightening thing for a lot of us. But I wouldn't be discouraged from doing it, because I think that's what strengthens us as a community. I guess kind of a moment of awe or fear, whatever you want to call it, would be the night when the storm took place 2 nights ago. I remember that me and my dad were watching the weather, and they were all talking about, straightforward wind, no problem, don't worry about a tornado, it's really strong wind, but it's not going to be a tornado. And then I remember them zooming in, they zoom in on this little hook, and they're like, oh, that looks like a little bit of rotation. And in that instant, right there, the power went out. And that was very, I guess, a moment of awe or fear for me. I guess I haven't experienced a tornado in the sense of this storm at all in my time living here. But me and my dad took cover in the basement, and that's terrifying. But after it, the day after, I was so just overjoyed at how our community came together after this. I mean, it was just so awesome to see. It was awesome to see. I know a couple of my friends have chainsaws and other stuff, and they just went and started going out on the road and helping the people clear out the trees that had fallen over the lines and everything. Not obviously working around the lines because that's pretty dangerous, and then just people offering all over social media and texting people and asking if they want to help or if they can help in any way. And it was just awesome for me to see that. And it really did remind me that thing where on the other side of your biggest moment of awe, there's great joy. And there's this sense of community that we all come together after this horrible storm and help one another, befriend one another. And so this is also shown. I was scrolling through Facebook the other day, and I saw a TED Talk by Will Smith. Some of you guys may know him; he's a pretty famous actor. But he was talking about his experience with skydiving. And I mean, if you thought going on a roller coaster was terrifying, I imagine skydiving is all that more terrifying. But he talked about that you never really have anything to fear until you're looking down and the door is open and you can see everything. But as humans, we like to build up this huge amount of fear in ourselves and worry and be like, oh, I know that moment's coming. I got to prepare for it. I got to worry about it, and I know it's coming. But you never really truly have anything to fear until you're looking down. But one of the things that he said that really stuck with me is this. God places the best things in life on the other side of our maximum fears. So this kind of goes along with what I've been saying with the Mona of awe, but his maximum fear was jumping out of that plane, right? But after he jumped, he said that it was the most blissful experience of his life, and that he would recommend it to everybody. So it's kind of, I guess, a metaphor in a sense, but we get approached with these moments of awe, or these terrifying experiences every day in our lives. So I would invite you guys that when you see these moments, you would take them. And one of the moments that I kind of get caught up in is asking people to come to church or be a part of the church. You know, I in my day-to-day life, I take these opportunities and I'm like, well, I could ask this person to come to church, but, you know, they probably don't want to come to church. They're too busy, or one of the excuses I like to use a lot is that, well, this person, it's just not something for them. You know, it's not something that they would like. And you can't just assume that, because, you know, as I was talking about with Dr. Bethesda, he, after that friend asked him to come to church, devoted his whole life to a better understanding of what it means to be a Christian and what it means to be a Lutheran. So, when you guys are approached with these moments to ask your friends or, you know, ask for help, or when a storm comes at you guys out of nowhere and you're terrified, I would invite you guys to take heart and to take that moment of fear and move past it. And I think one of the things, the verses from our readings today, not our gospel, but from the Romans piece here, that really stuck with me, that I studied with my youth group a little bit before, is that, and we boast in our hope of our sharing the glory of God. And not only that, but we also boast in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not disappoint us, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit that has been given to us. So we do like to boast in our faith, right? We do like to say, yes, it is awesome to have a relationship with Christ, but it's asking us here to go deeper than that. And when we're suffering, to also boast in that suffering. And so I know that pastors talked about this a little bit before, but the whole idea of, if you guys watch football, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do, you'll see people score touchdowns and they'll throw the ball down and they'll start doing their dances and everything. But I remember when I was younger, Pastor gave a sermon where he talked about how people should also do that when they get sacked or when they get, you know, they cause a fumble. Because, you know, and that obviously doesn't really make much sense, right? Why would you do that? There's something to celebrate. But it's all about that boasting in your suffering too, so that you can show others that, yes, this may be a terrifying moment in your life, but just take heart and have faith that your God's going to get you through it. And so, yes, I invite you guys to take these opportunities as they're given to you and go about in your life and experience the terrifying moments of awe and fear that I'm talking about. So we will continue now, I think, with our song, which is "This Is My Father's Work."